Podcast. Can you not hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
I thought I dipped out there for a minute. You panicky there. Very flawless start to the pod as ever. So thanks for joining us. Obviously, we are aware that there's a press conference going on the other side, but swerve that. We don't want to hear all doom and gloom anymore. We're past all that. Come and listen to how great Liverpool are. As you can see, joined by both Kieran and Dan once again. Pleasure as ever, gentlemen. We'll get to the nitty-gritty in a moment. Obviously, we're going to talk about Aston Villa coming to Anfield on Saturday and the return of Steven Gerrard and what we made of all that. We'll look ahead to Newcastle in the week. And also Tottenham away next Sunday, potentially. We don't know if they're going to be out of COVID protocols or whatever yet. Somehow they managed to get the game cancelled this weekend and they may be out of Europe for cancelling the game against Rennes. And I think there's a couple of other Christmas bits that we'll have a little talk about again, New Year's resolution and stuff. But first things first, how are we both doing? Have we had a decent weekend?
Yeah, mate, not bad.
Yeah, sound by me, mate. All good, yeah.
3 points, always good.
Liverpool winning it.
Yeah.
It's always good. You can't really ask for too much. So obviously we spoke about it last week of Gerrard return.
You've gone again, mate.
Yeah, just dipped out randomly.
I know. Can't trust him. Go on. No, we can't hear you, mate. Go on. While he gets sorted anyway, Dan,
go
hand it over to you, mate. 1-0 win over Villa. They're not the greatest games you've ever seen, but 3 points nonetheless, mate.
Yeah, it was, and that's all that mattered, isn't it? In many ways, like all three, potential title winners didn't have the greatest performances and all scraped over the line with penalties. So, yeah, we got over it, like I say, and we were dominant, weren't we? We didn't create anything particularly clear-cut. Villa were quite negative. I've seen a lot of criticism today for the way Gerrard set his team up, and, people saying if that's the way he's going to play, we don't want him to be Liverpool manager, but you dealt the cards you dealt, aren't you, as manager? And he's gone in there a couple of weeks ago and he's come up against a Liverpool side that's packed full of quality and realistically we're poles apart from where they are. So what do you want him to do? Come and play and get hammered? You can't really blame him for setting up the way they did. So I don't really buy into that. But yeah, in terms of us, it was a decent performance. I thought some of the build-up play was really nice, but when it got to the 18-yard box, he couldn't quite put it together. But listen, the Salah penalty, he wins the penalty for a start and then he converts it. That's probably the best penalty I've seen him take for us. He always scares me taking pens, but that one yesterday was emphatic.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
You are back,
mate.
Yeah.
All good.
I don't know what I did say. My mic was unplugged that time, to be fair. So I've just unplugged everything and put it back in. That interesting point. I was going to start with Gerrard and say, what did you make of his sort of tactics, Kieran? I'll ask you the same thing because Dan's just mentioned it there. How did you react to the way Villa set up?
Yeah, I'd say it's not really something I was expecting, but to be honest, you think about it, that's the way I think you have to come to Anfield and play. As an opposition manager, if I'm setting a team up against Liverpool, that's how I want it to be. Very stop-start, horrible in the midfield, a good old-fashioned proper battle. So for me, I've no issues with Gerrard's tactics because I think, to be honest, he was spot on. It was a very scrappy game. But I do agree with Dan. To be honest, I thought we were excellent. I thought we were properly up for the fight. Other teams wouldn't have been up for it, but we certainly were. The times when we had to get stuck in, especially in the midfield. But then again, the times, as Dan said, the build-up play was fantastic. The way we were keeping the ball, looking sharp. It was just, not having that cutting edge, whether that's, obviously Jota, who came, starting on the bench. We had Ox through the middle, something we're not used to. Mara come down to it. But I think when the goal did come, it was well deserved. And, fantastic penalty. I cannot for the life of me understand how people are saying it's not a penalty. For some of the penalties I've seen this weekend, that's up there with what, with the most stone wall of them. So I don't get where that's coming from. But he put it away fantastically. We had to withstand a bit of pressure towards the end because as teams seem to go 1-0 down, all of a sudden they've got to start playing. And Villa can play, and they showed that because we were under the cosh for the last 10 minutes. To be honest, we had a couple of breakaways we should have scored when we were 3-on-1. When we went through, I can't believe, we messed that up. But no, just good to get to the end of it. Clean sheet, 3 points. On we go.
Yeah, definitely. And just on the penalties as well this weekend. I mean, have you seen, was it Maddison today for Leicester? When you put it into comparison with that, I mean, it's ridiculous.
What I'll say about ours is just look at Tyrone Mings' reaction. Yeah. Like a few of his teammates sort of kick off, but Mings knows exactly what he's done. He's not kicked off. He's just turned around, walked off and gone, oh no. You just tell. It's not a bad foul by any stretch of imagination. It's not going to hurt Salah. He's just clumsy and he just knows. Yeah,
that's it. It's pure clumsiness. It's not malice or, anything else. It's just clumsy. He knows he's been beat. And yeah, it's a stone wall. I think we arguably could have had one in the first half as well. So probably, it leveled itself out a little bit in terms of that. The only thing about, I was going to say about Gerrard was, obviously, Kieran, you've got a point in terms of what else did you expect? But for me, I didn't see the game, but so I am making a bit of an assumption here, I'll be honest. But he said they went toe-to-toe with City and they took them to the wire. And it's well, you never took Liverpool to the wire. The scoreline might say that you took them to the wire, but I don't think they had. Did they have one shot on target all game? They never really threatened to. Late on they did a little bit.
They did,
in terms of well, that's what you'd expect when you're already 1-0 down. You'd expect them to come out. So I don't think he did say after our game that he took us to the wire or anything like that, which is fair. But I mean, if that's his sort of audition for apparently getting the Liverpool job in a few years, you can shove it, mate. I don't want to see football like that. I'd never, ever want to see football like that at Anfield again. We've had enough of it. I know it's slightly different in terms of you'll have a Liverpool team, but Graham Potter sticks to his methods and his tactics, regardless of who Brighton play against. And I know it's probably tactical flexible of Gerrard, but I don't want to see it. I'd rather Pep Linden's got the job if that's a possibility under Gerrard in future for me. That's just what I thought.
I was thinking that it might be a bit different. He was 3-4 months into the job and not 3 or 4 games.
Potentially. But I think we're doing Villa a bit of a disservice because I think they're a good team. I think they've got really good players, exciting attacking players, and he kind of nullified that. They've got fullbacks who want to get forward. They've got decent players up front like Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins is fantastic.
The only thing I'd say is when they did go toe-to-toe with us for the last 10 minutes and really try and push on, we picked them off on 2 occasions and we should have scored both times.
We were unlucky at times, yeah.
If he does that for 90 minutes, we probably kill him much earlier in the game. So I can't really blame him. I think it's really difficult. And you're right about what you say about Brighton, but obviously, like Kieran touched upon, he's been doing that now for quite a long time there. So he's got that well honed into him. He's probably arguably got better players. It's probably touch and go. Also, I actually think Brighton came to us and played that way and we raced into a 2-0 lead. It was actually our injury situation in midfield, aka Keita going off, that switched that whole game around. We were 2-0 up at that point and looking like we were going to pick them off at will. And then that happened. So it's a difficult one, but on balance, I'm not going to, cast judgment on Gerrard on what happened yesterday.
And also, I just wanted to mention, how do you think he handled his return in terms of he was... So he comes out and he claps the Villa fans. At the end of the game, he claps the Villa fans and he sort of waves at the cop a little bit. How did you think he handled that, Kieran?
Yeah, I can't knock him for it really. I think first and foremost he's Aston Villa manager, so the first people should go to are the Villa fans. They're always travelling good numbers, so no issue with that. And he's every right to signal to the cop as well for the applause he got before the game, after the game. Absolutely fine. I wasn't too happy with the chanting his name. I think there was one moment in the first half and it was chanted and what wasn't too happy with. I was more chanting the Liverpool that came after it. But
so it got overtook. I heard that on the radio.
It overtook it.
And you heard a very, very limited amount of people sick, and I was quite happy with that myself.
Weird, didn't like that.
Yeah. But I think he handled it well, mate. I mean, it's obviously going to be strange from his point of view, coming back to the place, he lives and breathes. So, maybe it'd been a better issue. Well, it was obviously the sad passing of Ray Kennedy. So we had that wonderful tribute at the start of the game. So there wasn't too much, there was applause as he came out the the tunnel into the dugout. But I was there afterwards. I joined in afterwards in the chant because that's the right time to do it. Whether we'd have won or lost, I'd like to think the chant would have happened. So yeah, I think he dealt with it well. A strange situation for not just him but for us all as well.
And I love this. I don't know whether you've seen it floating around on Twitter. This post-match Michael Owen, just perfect. Yeah, I don't know what riled me more was like Michael Owen asking that question or referring to himself as Mo.
Oh, no. Yeah.
It's Mo, yeah. Is it?
No, hate it.
How long's your name been Maureen for? Like, do you know what I mean? Hammered.
It's only one Mo.
But yeah, I mean, Dan, for you, Gerrard, it's so for a minute, like he's absolute legend of Liverpool, arguably, well, pretty much safe to say, the best we'll ever see. I know people can put him in comparison with Dalglish, but a bit out of our generation.
Yeah.
He couldn't have really done anything else, really, could he? He had to sort of play it down a bit.
Yeah, he did. If anything, it went a bit more under the radar and a bit more low-key than what I expected. I must admit, I thought more... Listen, a lot was made of it in the media and in the build-up, a hell of a lot. Every question in Jurgen Klopp's press conference was about Gerrard.
Well, the first thing he said, wasn't it, when he sat down, was, I'm not answering any questions about Steven Gerrard. I like that.
It's brilliant, that. And I actually thought on the day, it didn't really materialise like I thought it would. And that probably is due to Gerrard not really acknowledging the fact and really, railing against it almost in terms of, sticking up for his current job, which is fair enough because that is to manage Aston Villa and that's respectful to them. What I will say at this juncture is, though, I was very near the away fans and singing derogatory songs towards Scousers while your manager is one is very weird.
Very weird. It was the same at Wolves. It was the same at Wolves last week, and like your captain's basically a Scouser.
Yeah, but not only that, in the times we're living in as well. Listen, it's archaic to begin with before you take in the Gerrard thing. But I was sort of in talking distance to the away fans. I was in L1, L1 right at the bottom, and I was saying to like your manager is it's just odd. Like it's really weird. I don't get it at all. I don't think
it's strange, mate, and especially like. So I've done an interview with the food bank people who go to Anfield and Goodison and have set up all across the country.
Yeah.
And they were sort of saying part of their mission, if you like, with helping this network is education. Like, because...
It's needed.
It is, because, like, the people who go to the away games, where they said they've set it up at United, they've set it up at City, and they always say how embarrassed they are because it's always Liverpool fans, Everton fans bringing donations to the food bank. And yet we go into the stadium after we've donated and you're getting sang like sign on and we pay your benefits. And it's just like, but you don't, mate, because the unemployment rate is higher where you live than it is in Liverpool most of the time.
Well, I didn't want to get into that, but yeah.
Most of the time it is. But yeah,
certain songs sang about Liverpool and Birmingham, Aston.
Exactly.
It's not San Francisco, is it?
No, exactly. If it was an original, like they've come up with something that's quite original and quite new, you'd laugh about it. You'd think it was banter, but it's the same old boring songs that are just, so ununique, if that's even a word. It's boring every time. But there you go. We end up just smashing them, so it doesn't matter because we roll out with 3 points. I've totally forgot my train of thought. That was it. So Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain comes into the side. Dan, I'll come to you with this one because I've completely forgot what way around we're going. But what did you make of it? Because when I seen the team before I left to come home from work, it was like they were saying he was going to play on the left. But judging by pre-season, we kind of knew that he was going to play in the middle. He'd been there a bit. He's been in decent form. So, I mean, in terms of before the game, were you okay with him playing? And then how did you think he performed as the game went on? I
was okay with him playing before the game because you mentioned the pre-season game there, and I think he did okay in that long time ago now. Yeah. And he played the last 15 minutes in the San Siro there as well. And the game became a bit of a mess, so it's hard to judge him on that. And like you say, he was in good form. But I wrote about it this morning, funnily enough, and he played like an attacking midfielder playing as a number 9. He was far too deep, 99% of the time. Wanted to bit the ball up from deep. At times, we were like on the attack, like Salah and Mane getting forwards, and he was like just about joining it, potentially, probably not even getting there by the time the attacker broke down. And that's not really a slight on him. And I don't really want to criticise him for it because it's not his position. But you could really tell it wasn't his position. He wanted to get the ball from deep, turn, make things happen, and maybe have a shot himself. He didn't want to get in the box. And Firmino does come deep, but he also pops up in the right place at the right time. Not as much as Jota. Jota does that more as well. You know what I mean? So there's a fine balance. But for me, Oxlade-Chamberlain was too far on the opposite end of the scale. He wasn't involved in the final third anywhere near enough, which isn't really his fault because he never normally is. He was involved in that deeper bit, and you could tell we had no sort of focal point a lot of the time.
Kieran, for you, it's a sort of experiment that Klopp's tinkered with, as you said, pre-season and last little bit in Milan, and it maybe has an eye towards when we lose Salah and Mane, but is it an experiment that we should continue with, or do you think he's just far better in the middle?
I think his hand was a little bit forced, because obviously there was no Origi at the start. We found out with his knee injury. Jota was never going to complete 90 minutes, so I think it was between that and probably Minamino through the middle would have been the other. That was probably going to be which way he was going to go there. He went with the Ox. It isn't too surprising to see, he did struggle up front because that's not his position. What he does well, he gets the ball in midfield and he drives it. He comes from deep and drives it, other than teams' defences. So that's what he was trying to do. But no, I suppose it was an experiment to an extent, but I do think his hand was a bit forced because of the injury situation. Obviously Jota came on for the last, half an hour, 25 minutes. So hopefully he's good. He'll be good to go on the, Thursday night. Got a couple of extra days rest on a couple of other teams. So if he come back into the starting lineup, then obviously he can have the Ox back on the bench or back in midfield if they want to rotate. So, I think his hand was forced. Was it on balance, maybe played Minamino, but I think it was a toss of the coin in the end, and no fault on the lad. It just he's just centre forward, not his position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was with you, Dan. I thought he was very deep, and our shape looked a little bit off, almost to the point where I thought we were playing a diamond.
Yeah,
at times.
Like that.
And it's it's not his fault. It's not his fault, but I think he doesn't improve unless he gives it a go, and he has he plays in that position. I know pre-season you can play there and stuff, but it's not the same, is it? And it was ages away, so he's an option to have. I think he'd be better out on the wing cutting in, to be honest, maybe on the left-hand side, but he's much better in midfield for me when he's in his pomp and he's really in rhythm. He's brilliant. So, I mean, we'll move on from next. We've spoke plenty about Villa there. It was a good result, and as we said, I thought we played really well and probably deserved a few more goals if we could have got them. But it doesn't matter. You get 3 points. That's all that matters. And it'll be the same again on Thursday night. Obviously, another weird week of Thursday night football, and we're not in the Europa League. It's not right. It's not right. But we've got Newcastle, obviously, Thursday. I mean, is this? Where do you stand on this one? I think Dan, because I think Kieran's just answered the last question. My head's just gone with I can't order, so apologies. But this is one of them really weird ones where we're playing a team where you think, right, they've just been smashed. It was 4-0 in the end, wasn't it, today, by Leicester, who aren't good. Leicester are bang average this season. They're really struggling in the relegation zone. They haven't, they've got the new manager bounce is probably gone by this point. Do you see this as like it's almost the stars are lining up for it to be too much of an easy game for Liverpool, that it'll be one of them that we struggle in? Or is it just, are we overthinking it? Is this going to be like 6 or 7?
I'd like to think the latter. And as soon as you sort of alluded to it, I thought in my head, not this Liverpool. And I hope that remains to be the case, because during, Klopp's reign, we've had periods where the season we won the league in particular didn't really matter, who we were playing and what the circumstances of the game were. We were going to overcome them. And I'd like to think that would be the same on Thursday against Leeds, because, these were poor sides. These were poor side conceding a lot of goals. That could change in January, obviously, for, financial reasons in particular. But right now, these are in a pretty low ebb, actually, looking over the shoulder in terms of we could be the richest club in the world playing in the Championship. Just been hammered 4-0. So it's another one of them games, and I must say this week in, week out, but it seems to be my thing with this Liverpool side. honestly, an early goal. Just the way we play football against teams like this in particular, who are going to come and they're going to set up deep and they're going to look to defend the 18-yard box well. If you score early, all of a sudden the whole complexion of the game changes. Because then suddenly they think, okay, we might have to do something else. And then we just rip them apart. So I'd say the same for Thursday. I don't think... Alan Saint-Maximin's probably my only concern. I hate playing against players like him and Traore, because they can do something out of nothing. And he can make anyone in the world look silly. And that includes the sort of players we've got, because he's got that ability. But realistically, they should have nowhere near enough of the ball to cause us any problems. And man for man, defensively, they can't handle us. So I don't see any hurdle at all, really.
The only other thing I was going to allude to, Kieran, is like, obviously we know Newcastle are going to sit in and hope for the best. But we kind of know from Eddie Howe's past, and certainly some point this season with Newcastle, he does like his teams to play out from the back a little bit, and that is just going to be carnage for Liverpool if that's the case, isn't it?
Yeah, just Eddie, don't do it. I mean, from our point of view,
no, surely we want Eddie to do it.
Well, no, yeah, from our point of view, yeah, but just you know,
yeah,
I honestly don't think it matters what way they play. I think if they sit back, we break them down and score and win comfortably. If they come out and try and attack, they might get one, maybe two, but I think we get 4 or 5. The only question would be complacency. That's the only thing we've got to guard against. But I think all over the pitch, you know, if they want to play out for the back, by all means, go for it, because we'll have a field day. So, you know, it's not really Eddie Howe's style just to, you know, sit in. You know, we did give us problems with Bournemouth, but you know, I do think they were more of a team, more of a, you know, a compact team that, you know, was not so organised in the defence, just, but, you know, because they were conceding a lot of goals, but they knew how to get goals. And I think Callum Wilson also comes into that. You speak about Saint-Maximin, you know, great player, does something out of nothing, but, you know, if you can get the service into Callum Wilson, he's, you know, one of the best finishers in the league, but he needs the service. So I think Newcastle are very much up against it in this one, though. I think, you know, as Dan says, an early goal would be absolutely wonderful if we do get the early goal. You know, I wouldn't say necessarily 5 or 6. I think 3 or 4 is more of a margin that I think it'll be. But, you know, we've just got to do what we do. And, you know, I think we should have a lot easier time than we did on Saturday anyway.
Yeah, I think we're playing them at a perfect time, to be honest. Because Eddie Howe's had a couple of games to settle in. That sort of bounce you'd like to think has gone. They've got the first victory off the back. They beat, was it Burnley? They beat
Burnley, yeah.
So they're not worried about that. They've kind of put themselves back in with the shout of getting out of relegation. They're not completely cut adrift from everything. It's not January, so they haven't had time to sign anybody. I think it's a perfect time to play them. I mean, I think obviously anyway, you'd expect Liverpool to beat Newcastle at Anfield. It's probably at St James's Park at this rate. If you were a betting person, you'd put your money on Liverpool anyway. But I just think it does add up. My only concern is, as you say, maybe a bit of complacency. Maybe Anfield's a little bit dead and flat, and we just don't really get into rhythm. There's times where, like, Thiago sometimes turns up and you can tell he thinks it's going to be too easy. Southampton the other week at Anfield, it was like a training game for him and he was dead sloppy, and that just spreads through the team. We need to be on it from the first minute, and as Dan says, early goal, get ourselves in stride early and just give Newcastle no chance. Score prediction then. Dan, will come to you first.
Yeah, I'm going to go for that comfortable evening. I don't see the complacency side of things. I fully understand where you're coming from, and I think that has crept into certain games, but usually when that game's dead and buried, from the outset, I just don't see it. When we're in a run like this with loads of games, I think it suits us down to the ground. So I'm going to say 4-0. We're going to really pile it on for them. 4-0.
Kieran?
4-0. Yeah, just on the last night with Newcastle there, they've got us, and then after that, they've got City and United as the 2 games after that. So hopefully their heads are down looking at going, where are our points coming from? But yeah, I see a comfortable evening as Dan. I'll go 3-0 just to change it up a little bit, but I'm confident of a win with a clean sheet here.
I do think it will be quite comfortable, to be honest. So I'll go 5-0. Just because you said 4-0 and 3-0, I'm not going 2-0 because I think it'll be more than that. But yeah, I do think we'll be all right in that one. The issue that we might have then is obviously Liverpool play again on Sunday. It's a bit of a tight turnaround. I'm kind of expecting Klopp to have a little jibe about that in the media at some point, whether it be before the Newcastle game or before the Tottenham game again, if the Tottenham game goes ahead because of the whole COVID situation. But for purposes of the podcast, we will assume that the game is going ahead. We record we're live actually now on Sunday night. So as it stands, Tottenham haven't played today. And didn't play in midweek, so we don't really know. But let's assume that the game is going ahead. Do you think he'll make changes for Newcastle, or do you think he'll look ahead and make changes at Spurs? Because I know, as mad as it sounds, they're both struggling teams. Like, you wouldn't expect Spurs to be within the same. I know they're not in the same boat as Newcastle as such, but it's not as big a challenge as Tottenham usually is, because they're really down and struggling this year as well. But Dan, for you, is it? Where's the rotation going to come in? Because we know Klopp's going to do it. Where do you think he might rotate? And what sort of team selection do you think we might get against Spurs on Sunday?
Well, I think he rotates against Newcastle, if I'm honest. And I think all of a sudden on Thursday, depending on Origi's knee situation, I think we've actually got the squad to rotate. I don't want to speak too soon. We're in a relatively fortunate situation at present, whereby we've seen Keita and Gomez come back last week. Firmino was back in training the other day a lot sooner than I expected, so he could even be involved on Thursday. So we've actually got, and we talk about Oxlade-Chamberlain, the form he's been in from midfield. There are options there to do a little bit. So I would change things for that and then look to go full strength on Sunday, because you're right in terms of what you say about Spurs not being the threat they have been in previous seasons. But this is Antonio Conte now. And he is a world-class manager. So I think he makes life difficult pretty much no matter who he's managing, against no matter who he's managing. So, yeah, I would look to rotate against Newcastle, go full strength against Spurs. The one thing I will say with Spurs is they're supposed to play on Thursday night as well. So that doesn't really, help or hinder either of us. It'd be interesting to see when they can start playing or training again, because I think at present they play Leicester actually on Thursday. If they don't play that, they're in sort of danger of maybe joining training again on Friday or Saturday as a team. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd rather be in our shoes in terms of playing and training all the time than having 13 days off and then that before playing us.
Especially when you're winning, you'd rather be in the zone and carry on playing.
Conte, we all know the taskmaster he is. He'd want to drill his players before playing against a side like us. And if he has sort of 24 hours, won't be that, in terms of getting training into him, then that is a recipe for disaster from their point of view.
Absolutely, yeah. And he's a relatively new manager, as you say, so his ideas are still sort of getting across, and he's had that time taken away from him. But Kieran, for you, how do you see this one going? Do you think Liverpool again? Is it? Obviously, we know it's not as big as a challenge as it was, but do you think all this might play a factor in when they go there? Will it make life a bit easier for Jurgen Klopp's team, or what do you think?
I'd like to think it'll make it easier, because it's not just obviously the COVID thing. They obviously had the Burnley postponements a couple of weeks ago as well, so they're really light on games. The only game they've had, I think they beat Norwich 3-0, I think, last week. So
and they got beaten. They got beaten in that Conference League as well, didn't they? By Vitesse, I want to say the other week.
And they got beat by who's the other team?
Mora.
So it's a tough time. You do want players to have a rest, but I do think there is such thing as too much of a rest, which I think they are very much in danger of not having the match practice, not having the training. So, but we've just got to ignore that. We've just got to go and do our job. So, speaking about rotation, I think you've got to look a bit past Spurs as well, because we've got a League Cup quarter-final coming up on the Wednesday night as well. So I think the team against Spurs will be a lot similar to, the team that's played Villa, and the players that come in against Newcastle will also come in against Leicester in the League Cup after it. So that's how I see it going, just to keep those sort of, not like two 11s, but sort of like the squad players, which games they play, which games they don't. I think you have to prioritise the Spurs game. That's if you're going to play, if you are going to rotate, which you have to in this day and age. So, I hopefully Jota's fit. We'll see how he is Thursday, but I wouldn't expect too many changes for the Spurs game from the Villa game. Just gone, maybe the one with Jota coming back in, but apart from that, you're looking at pretty unchanged side from this one. Whether it is from Newcastle, I'm not too sure. I have to see how the players have reacted. Whether Tsimikas gets a go or Milner comes in the midfield on Thursday just to freshen things up. But it's that time of year. 3 games a week is going to be 3-4 games a week coming up around Christmas. So there's a lot to factor in for Jürgen here, But as ever, completely trust him. Usually gets it spot on. We were the first team ever to win every single Premier League game in December under him when that was the year before we won the league. So we usually get it spot on around now, and I don't expect anything different.
We just had a comment and I can confirm this is right as well. Spurs are back in training today, so thank you very much.
So it'll go ahead then, won't it?
Yeah,
I'd like to think so. But it's the point of, and Dan, I don't know where you stand on this. So where they stand now, where they've missed a couple of games, as you say, they've missed the Burnley game.
Yeah.
Do you think they've had like a decent rest, or do you think they've had too much time off? And do you think they'll be fresh or rusty when they play us?
They'll have the Leicester game, won't they? Obviously, to sort of blow off any cobwebs if they are sort of all back in training, obviously, and barring any more mishaps. So you'd probably say they'd be fresh if we're going to be honest. I think there's no two ways about that. But at the same time, in a weird way, and Kieran's just alluded to it there, I think we're so much better in a rhythm of game. So it doesn't really faze me how fresh, or it depends how they act. You know what I mean? They might be better for a break, whereas I think we're better when we have a break in terms of an international break. I always think our next performance back is bang average. I thought that ever since Klopp came in, and I think it's a lot to do with the intensity and the style. And I think once they're in the rhythm of playing every 3-4 days, whatever it may be, and we all know they train as hard as they play as well, so they're just used to it. So it doesn't necessarily faze me. And we've just got to concentrate on ourselves, haven't we? Because, we're a better football team than Spurs at the minute, so it shouldn't really matter.
Absolutely. Kieran, for you, I mean, as you said, it's a bit of a tough challenge in the past. It's maybe not as tough a challenge, but obviously we've mentioned Conte, manager in charge now. Very experienced, very top manager. Maybe hasn't had the time to get his team drilled, but are we expecting Spurs to set up against us?
It is an interesting one because obviously with them being at home, the home fans aren't going to stand for them sitting back too much. And we've usually got since the new stadium's open, I think we've won there every time. And I think the one in front of their fans, the 1-0 year we won the league. I think we were awesome that day. We didn't really let them, play at all. So hopefully they don't dictate to us. We dictate to them what happens. Because I think, we'll go for if they're rusty, I can see us going in with a full press, trying to win that ball high up the field and, just don't let them out. Because if they get that ball into, Son, he's obviously going to look for Harry Kane and, on the day, them two are absolutely world class. And if both of them are on form, they come back, you could very, very easily get a couple of goals. So, I can't see them coming out all guns blazing. It's not Conte. It's not what you do against Liverpool. So it will be a conservative approach. They'll look for the right times. They'll probably let us have a lot of the ball, and they'll look to break at the right times with Son, Kane, Lucas Moura, and pick the right time to go forward. So we've just got to, do what we do, keep the ball, keep creating chances, press where we need to, hope and snuff out the danger when it comes because they'll have a couple of moments. Hopefully the back four, is there, gets it sorted, and then it's another game where I do see us getting another 2 or 3. It's just whether if what we can do the other way. So we're in a great run of form, so I am very confident going into these games. But I think it's we should be able to dictate what they do instead of them dictating to us.
Absolutely right. Score prediction time then, Kieran.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot. It should be a lot closer and tighter than the Newcastle game. Last couple of results we have nicked, a couple of 1-0s. I'll look at 2-0, maybe. I'll probably go 2-0, possibly 2-1. Do you see a Liverpool game, but I do see a much tighter game?
Dan?
Yeah, definitely tighter than Newcastle, in my opinion. I don't think we'll, have the level of dominance in that game, but I still see it being relatively comfortable. I think Romero's a massive miss for them. I think individually at the back, they've got Evers in that defence. So Mohamed Salah running at Eric Dyer is rather exciting from my point of view. So, yeah, I'll go 3-0 Liverpool. I think all the factors in terms of Tottenham not playing a lot, etc., etc. We don't know how they're going to come back after this, obviously. So, yeah, I think it'll be more comfortable than possibly it will be when we play a Conte Tottenham further down the line.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing we haven't mentioned is obviously, we don't know how many players have got COVID. Well, we kind of know. We don't know who's got COVID. We don't know specifics. No. We don't know whether, some of them might struggle for a long time, like the likes of Jamal Lascelles and Alan Saint-Maximin did last year at Newcastle. We just don't know until maybe Thursday night, and then we'll have a better idea. I'll probably go 3-1 Liverpool. I think, we'll probably concede, but I just fancy us, as you say. Did I mention that stat on the last podcast about the December run of games? Did I mention that? I don't know if I did, but I'll mention it again. We've lost one. It'll be more than 40 now. It'll be 42 or 43. We've lost one game in December in the last 42 or 43. Can you guess what game that was?
I've got an idea.
Go on.
Oh, I could be right. The 4-3 at Bournemouth.
No.
Was it not that?
That must have been in the last 42. In the summer, I thought. Was that in the Premier League?
I think it's all games, to be honest, because, yeah.
Do you know what? Give me to the end of the pod. That's something.
Not that. It must be a Premier League side if you're not sure. Yeah, it must be. I was going to say Atalanta in the Champions League group stage, but it can't have been. No.
Oh, is it? Oh, is it a league game or is it cups?
Oh.
Well, because there was the 5-0 against Villa, which technically was.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the only one we've lost in the last 42 or 43.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous run. That. I mean, say you have like 10 games in December, which we have. It's
the busiest month normally. As well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like 3 or 4 years without losing a game in December, apart from that one. I think it's like 42 or 43 now.
Yeah,
that's crap.
Doesn't count, does it? But that's my point. That's how ridiculous it is. Like that's the only game we've lost. It's crazy. I don't know exactly what it is. It was 40 when I last read, as I say, and that was a couple of games ago. So it's either 42 or 43. But yeah, long may it continue, and still plenty of December left to go as well. Like just before we go, a couple of little Christmas bits to talk about. Well, not really Christmas bits, but more for me, more than anything. The one thing we haven't mentioned is the FA Cup third round. Liverpool drew Shrewsbury Town at home. This year's third round of the FA Cup. Bit of reaction to that result. Obviously, there's a little bit of history there, Dan, between the two teams, isn't there? So, how did you feel when Shrewsbury Town at home was drawn out for Klopp?
Yeah, happy. Because it's so like easy to say this, isn't it? But you do want home draws against, lesser teams, with all due respect to Shrewsbury, of course.
Yeah.
Because you want to get through the early rounds of the cup. You want to be able to rotate your side, get minutes into different legs, maybe bring a couple of injuries back, etc., and get through. There is a bit of history there. As long as we don't go to a replay this time, I'll be quite happy. That we played, if I remember right, the kids, like the full kids, didn't we? Because Klopp, did he go on holiday, or did he just?
Yeah, Klopp wasn't there.
Yeah. Because it was the winter break, wasn't it?
It was
the Premier League winter break. That
was right. It was.
And I think the Shrewsbury sort of grievance came from that because the game never ended up on telly because Klopp sort of said it's going to be the kids.
He said after the first, not leg, but the first round, didn't he? The first bit of it, So
the telly sort of went, well, we're not putting that on the telly.
It's not on telly again.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're right. So unlucky Shrewsbury.
And it was an own goal, wasn't it? If I remember rightly.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Was it 1-0? They finished 1-0.
Sure, it finished 1-0.
Yeah, I think
was it extra time or was it just late in the game?
No, it was late in the game. Second half, it was cop end.
I should know I was there, but I don't remember that.
I can briefly remember the ball coming in from the right-hand side, our right-hand side, and their lad heading it.
Like a loopy own goal, wasn't it?
It was one of them, wasn't it? Yeah, I can remember.
But I mean, like I say, I like the FA Cup. I like us going deep in these domestic competitions. As much as I understand why Klopp has been so dismissive of them since he's been with us, because we just haven't had the squad to compete on all fronts. I half think this season we have. If you look at some of the youngsters we've got coming through, your Mortons, your Joneses, Cade Gordon, hopefully Harvey Elliott back at a similar sort of time. We have got young players there and, depth in terms of senior players, because we mentioned Minamino, he's already had a kick. So he's one who's going to be looking at the FA Cup thinking, okay, here we go. So, yeah, I'd like to see us go really deep. So, for that reason, I was really pleased with the draw, because I went to Wolves away a couple of years ago in the FA Cup, and you think, the Premier League side, good Premier League side, you think, we want to rest a lot of our players, but they won't, and then you get beat and you're out. It was just frustrating. So, I'm happy with it, mate. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, the Kiana Haver played for us that day. Did he?
As like a 16-year-old.
Yeah,
I think Lovren got injured
that's right.
Early on.
That's right. He went off and he came on for him, didn't he? Yeah. Kieran, for you, Shrewsbury, the draw, and then obviously the FA Cup itself. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, mate. I like Dan says, I think it is a good draw for us. It will mean we do rotate. But I think I agree. I do want us to see go well in the cups, and I think we have had some kind draws this year. Which I do think helps. Obviously in the League Cup, Norwich, Preston, and Leicester. You can't argue with it. Win the Leicester game, a game away from Wembley, so can't argue with that at all. When we've I for one have had the cups towards the bottom of the list. But this is before we won the league, before we were focusing on the Champions League. So I think I haven't got both of them, under our belt. I know they will be our main priorities, but with the squad that we do have, to be honest, we should be looking to get to the latter rounds anyway. I know, and especially with the draws we've had, fantastic. Good for Shrewsbury obviously getting this far. It's a dream of all League One, League Two, and non-league clubs. They can negotiate the first two rounds. They can get a tie like this at Anfield. They'll certainly get a wonderful cash boost from it, which they would deserve for being this far in the competition. So congratulations to them. But we've still, wherever 11 goes out there, we've still got to go out and do a job, because we do want to be there. It is still like we haven't had it for a while. We haven't had a Wembley trip, for a little while, especially a winning one, which the whole club would love. So yeah, we can't argue with Shrewsbury at home. It will be, like I say, a chance to rotate, chance to look at some kids, but still still respect the game for what it is, and hopefully we can get at least through to round 4.
It'd be nice, yeah. I think it's I know we've got a bit of a grievance with Shrewsbury because they had a little pop on us and stuff, and it was all right because we knocked them out. But to be a Shrewsbury fan, I always think this: to be any team, a lesser team, and you're a fan of a smaller club, that's the way it is. Shrewsbury, the smaller club than Liverpool, simple as that. I think it's always nice to get an away tie at like a Premier League, especially one of like what you'd call the Big Six.
Yeah.
Because I remember last time that obviously they get the full Anfield Road and they just make loads of noise and they have a good day. And I know it's probably a load of Shrewsbury fans that never go. They're like really United fans or half them are Liverpool fans or whatever. But they make a load of noise, and I always just think like I'll never experience that because we don't support a small club. Like we, wherever we go, we're a big club and we're always in with the shout. So it's always nice for a big club to get drawn away at a Premier League ground. But let's hope they go home with like a good 5-0 hammering and the Reds in the 4th round. I think we've covered 2 of the other things on this list in terms of a New Year's resolution. Did we do that last week? I think we did. Or did we do a Christmas gift?
Christmas gift, it might have been instead.
Yeah, so we'll leave New Year's resolution till next week. I'll give you a bit of homework from the Shankly Gates podcast this week. The only other thing I do want to do, because we've done who just signing chat in January this week, but predict where we're going to finish in the league, and maybe predict where we're going to finish in the league, and where we're going to finish in like the Champions League and the cups. And I know I've kind of threw you under the bus a little bit both there, so I'll give you a bit of time to think, and I'll bite the bullet and go first. I think we'll probably finish 2nd in the league, unfortunately. I do, just because losing Salah and Mane is massive. It's absolutely massive, and Keita, and I don't know whether we're going to get through those games, especially if it's 6 games. We always have a dip late January, early February every season. And that's when City tend to kick on. And this year we're not ahead of them at this point, whereas in the past we've been in front of them and we've been, all right. I know last Christmas as well, we were ahead of them and we ended up slipping down to like 4th. But I don't know. Something tells me we're probably not going to go on to win the league, but I think we'll run them close like we did a couple of years ago. In an ideal world, I'd love us obviously to win the league. If I'm being completely honest with myself, I don't know. I just see us finishing second, unfortunately. Champions League, I mean, tough one to predict the Champions League because I think we've got some sort of I know it's the Champions League last 16, there's no easy games, but you've topped the group and you've got a bit more of a friendly selection of teams you might get. I think Paris Saint-Germain in there, are they the strongest team we might actually get?
Yeah, and then into Milan, I think.
Probably, and then so you've just beat the top of Serie A with your reserves, so you'd like to think we can do the same to Inter Milan. You've got Salzburg, who we've already beat in there.
Yeah.
A few teams
2 Portuguese sides.
Yeah, so again, we love Portugal, don't we? Porto, we go there and win every year. We might as well. So I don't know. I think you get through that and you get a decent draw in the quarters. I can see us getting to at least the semis. If we're on our game, it's hard to look any further than that with the Champions League. I think we get to the semi-finals. You can't say we're going to win the Champions League because it's just too difficult to predict that far down the line. League Cup, I think we might get to the final. I think we might win it this year, especially with City being out. City are out, aren't they?
West Ham.
It's anyone's game this year. Why not us? We beat Leicester as a kid and says we're in the semi-final. I think Klopp then starts to take it a bit serious. Although he's the type of man who gets to Wembley and pick Tyler Morton and Kevin Kelleher. And do you know what I mean? You just can all stay on the bench. Our team, as great as this team is, it's fantastic. It's never been in a cup final at Wembley. Do you know what I mean? Never. Yeah. We don't do FA Cup and League Cup in years previous, so he'll probably still pick the kids now with Klopp. And then FA Cup's the same. You get a couple of decent draws. But I think by that point, when this tournament starts, we are a little bit more run down, if you like. And Klopp will not be interested at all, especially if we do well in the League Cup. I can see him sort of going, forget the FA Cup, I'm not interested. And if by some minor miracle we end up getting through to again the semi-final with the kids getting played every week, who knows from there. Hopefully that's enough time for you to think about yours. So I mean, Dan, you look a bit more confident than Kieran. I'll let you go first on this one, mate.
I'm just hiding a smile for what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I've often been known as the ultra positive one and the optimistic one, so I'm gonna stick to that.
Okay.
I'm gonna say we do the double Champions League and Premier League.
That'd be nice.
And I'll give you a brief explanation as to why. I don't think the African Cup of Nations hurts us as much as people are worried about. I think obviously we lose Salah, Mane and Keita is a massive blow, regardless of how many games it's for. But I just don't see how the Chelsea game is probably my biggest concern in all that. Because obviously the FA Cup game is one of them. That's Shrewsbury at home. They don't play in that anyway, Then we're looking at Brentford and Palace. Both teams that can hurt us, no doubt about it. But really, is that... I'm still confident we'll have them for the Chelsea game as well, I must say, because nothing's set in stone yet. And then obviously there's half a chance the whole thing doesn't go ahead. So that aside, I just think, we're a side who've already shown we can score goals pretty much at will. Early season, it was our defence that was the problem. Conceding 3 at Brentford, conceding 3 at West Ham. It just looks like we've turned the corner a little bit in that. I think we need some luck along the way in terms of injuries. But I think, I'm not going to sort of factor in the fact we might get injuries. I'm going to say we're not going to pick up major injuries and we're going to have this side. So with this side we've seen over the past few weeks, that side wins this Premier League, in my opinion. Chelsea will get hurt by AFCON as well in a small way because Kepa will go in goal and he's half the keeper, Mendy is. Yeah. And City obviously probably the main threat if you look at current form, but if we go toe-to-toe with them, I just back us to come out on the right side of it this time because they aren't scoring goals at will this year because they haven't got an Aguero or an actual genuine number 9 and we don't need one. So that's my rationale behind the Premier League success. I don't think we get hurt as much as people are suggesting. And I think we've just clicked on a side and clicked on a formula that's really working. So that's that. And I think for the Champions League, I actually said recently that this side, with its goal-scoring prowess that we've already seen, is more built for Champions League success because you can just blow a side away or blow a whole tie completely wide open, like we did for a few years under Klopp. We just have half an hour whereby we completely kill a tie off. We did it against Roma, and we did it against City at our place as well. And any side that can do that in Europe is a serious threat. And I think we are that side. So whoever comes, especially to Anfield, we can just absolutely annihilate anyone within half an hour, and the tie is just dead. Over the contest, over. So that's that for the Champions League. And as for the domestics, I think we make a final of one of them. Which one that is, I'm not sure. Probably easier to say the Carabao Cup because of where we are right now. But you're probably right in terms of if we do make the final, that we probably jib the FA Cup at like the quarter-final stage.
That's a very, very fair explanation for everything you've said there, to be fair, Dan, and I fully hope that you are correct. Can I just, before I move on to Kieran, can I ask, say we do win the Carabao Cup and say we do win the Premier League and the Champions League, are we calling that a treble?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. 100%.
Because obviously you'll get United fans saying, that's not a treble because we didn't win the FA Cup. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I get that. But now, as horrible as this is to say, because I love the FA Cup, I think when they did it, they were probably right. But the difference between the FA Cup and the League Cup now isn't that big. Like the FA Cup's losing a bit of panache every year, pretty much. Yeah. And we're another year on now. So I'm not sure the difference is too great anymore.
Literally the only difference is that some more teams get to go in the FA Cup. But by the time that we get into it, it's anyway. Like the League Cup anyway. Yeah, so there's very little. I mean, we got Havant and Waterlooville one year, but it's not. Didn't happen again this year. It's very rare. Kieran, go on then, mate. What's the situation?
Just on that. I mean, in that treble win for United, they refused to enter the competition the year after, so it couldn't have been that much to them. So
that was my argument to it, and I've actually mentioned that in the week.
We spoke about the 5-0. We put the kids out against Villa. I mean, we put the kids out against Arsenal. We beat them at home. So, but anyway, on this, I mean, I'm sort of with Dan. I'm not usually ultra positive, but looking at it, I think Chelsea will will finish third. They'll be a lot closer than they have been previous seasons. Yeah. But at this, I see this one. The last two seasons they've been won by the team by 20 points or whatever. This season's, to me, I can't not see it going to the wire. I can't. It's going to go down to those last few weeks. And I even looked the other day at some of the fixtures, getting excited at some of the fixtures. Gerrard goes to Man City away on the last day of the season. Stuff like that. Man City go to West Ham, I think second last game of the season. So just little things like that. Just looking ahead to it, I do think it's going to be very, very close. Hopefully it's our turn to be on the right side of, a nail-biting season because, the last couple of the last few close runs we haven't. So I think we are due it. We have got the team. As long as we don't have, an injury-ravaged season like last year, hopefully. It's between us and City, and I just put it like a 60-40 between the two of us. There'll be nothing in it. I think it'll go to the last two games, but for me, I do see us coming out on top. In terms of Champions League, I mean, even if we get PSG, worst case scenario, I still think we just about finish ahead of them. Obviously, I'd love an easier tie than that, but I do see us getting to quarterfinal. For some reason, I don't know how they'll get through, but I'm sure we'll get. I just fancy us getting United in the quarters. I fancy that, or an English side. I see us not, quarter-final, semi-final, final, playing 3 English sides, something like that. Going through that.
That'd be bad luck.
Couldn't think of anything worse.
That'd be bad luck.
I don't think it'd be bad luck, because I think we do them all. I think we do them all.
We probably do, but it's a horrible thought.
It is horrible. But
until you win, it's
I think we do them all. So,
do you think we do them all like 3 in a row?
Oh, sorry.
like, do you think we'll beat them all 3 in a row? Like,
yeah,
that'd be some way to win it. That would.
Oh, mate, imagine it.
We beat City in the league, and 4 days later, whatever, we played them in the Champions League final, or whatever.
That's bragging rights for about 2 decades. That is.
That's game over. That's the greatest.
No, I don't know coaches all that, but it would be nice to, beat City in the final. So I'm not,
See, when we got Tottenham, it wasn't so bad because, like, it's Tottenham.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
We can't.
But can you imagine if that was United or City or even Chelsea?
Honestly, my biggest fear that's my biggest fear, getting something like that in the final.
I went into that going, no, we can't be beaten by Spurs. It can't happen.
In hindsight, it was probably better that we got Spurs than Ajax because Ajax were a much better side.
Yeah.
So,
but getting back to it, there's no reason why we can't go deep in the Champions. I don't fear anyone. Definitely not the English clubs. Bayern Munich will give us a very good game if we get them later on. But apart
they
from
always won as well.
Yeah. Apart from that, Real Madrid, they've picked up a bit of form, but I don't see it. Yeah. There's nothing doing in Italy. Ajax look vaguely interesting again. They've 6 wins out of 6. You can't knock them for that. Played, Dortmund and Sporting Lisbon, 2 decent European sides. So it'd be interesting to see how far they go. But yeah, I see us getting to the last round. In terms of domestic cups, I can see us, getting past Leicester next week. I think we go past them. Not sure who's left in it that stage. I think Chelsea are there. Arsenal have got Sunderland, so I think Arsenal get through.
Yeah.
So again, but then it's 2 legs, and one of them will be at Anfield. So every chance of getting to the final and going on and win it. And I agree, if we get to the final and do win it, I think we do back off in the FA Cup because. We're talking about Liverpool going deep in the Premier League, deep in the Champions League. You're going to need your rest. You're going to need your squad. So, you can only have positive signs. We've lost one game this season, and a league game. We've won 6 out of 6 in the Champions League, won every League Cup tie, top scorers in the Premier League. There's plenty going for us, plenty to be optimistic about. So, yeah, I can't see us not having, a very successful season with at least one bit of silverware.
At what point, right? Because it seems like every year people talk about City and the quadruple. At what point do we start talking about Liverpool and the quadruple? Because we've never been to a point under Klopp anyway where we've been in the League Cup at this stage. I don't think. Am I right? Well, we have, but maybe not in this. When we're winning the league and stuff. And all that. At what point do we start talking about that? Is it after the Shrewsbury game if we beat Leicester? Or because every year people say, and they're right too, because City spend bucket loads of money and they should win every game.
They've got the squad, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't lose ever for the amount of money they spend.
I don't think you can start talking about it until you've won the League Cup, that first one. I don't think you can have a conversation about it.
Like it comes up at, like before the League Cup for City most years.
Yeah, it's probably because it's been close a few times. And you look at their squad and the monopoly they've had over the League Cup. It was almost a given that they'd go and win it because, like you alluded to there, if I say I spent, it's very difficult to compare, but an amount of money on something, you'd expect results. And if you spend an amount of money on that squad that you do, you expect to win the League Cup because your B team is way ahead of everyone else's.
Your B team would probably finish like 5th or 6th.
Exactly. They should win the League Cup. That's a given. And no one will ever tell Pep Guardiola that. And he'll never admit that because...
every game's like a really tough opponent.
Because he's a bald fraud. And 2 weeks ago, they were in the emergency when they had about 3 injuries. So the man's a very good manager, but he's a very good manager at managing what he has in terms of a lot of world-class footballers. Let's get it right.
Well, I think this year was the first time we've sort of seen some cracks. Sterling wants to leave in the summer. Silva wants to leave in the summer.
Ferran Torres is off as well.
Ferran Torres to Barca, So that's for a while he's had it quite smooth, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? No one's kicked up a fuss, but now he's getting there. Go on.
Yeah, that's why I think they have that quadruple chat. But like Kieran says, I think if we win the League Cup and we're still, I imagine we will be, but we're still second, first in the Premier League, then someone probably has to mention it. But until then, best left unsaid.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's we'll be first to say Liverpool are going to win the quadruple this year. We'll be first. Let's get that bandwagon rolling.
Could you imagine?
Now.
Sorry, just to interrupt, like, could you imagine after all the City talk about doing the quadruple, we went and did it out of nowhere?
It'd be quite good, that wouldn't it?
Oh my god!
It'd be quite good. That just proper under the radar. Like no one even talks about it until the week of the FA Cup, and they go
suddenly go.
Hang on,
they might won everything.
Yeah. You might win the lot again this year. Yeah, sound. Well, that's something to look forward to in the summer. Gentlemen, I've kept you for too long. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure as ever. And we'll catch up again next weekend when hopefully we're talking about 3 points away at Spurs, probably on Monday night, I'm assuming. That one will be. And we'll look ahead to Leicester in the League Cup. And then Leicester already.
Again. Leicester Leeds.
It always happens that, doesn't it? You always end up playing the same team twice, and you get this draw like quite close to each other. Looking forward to that. Sound. Thank you both. Thank you very much indeed, as ever. Thank you to those of you that have watched and listened and shared and commented and all that. We do massively appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and we'll catch you again soon. Bye bye for now.